Hello, Zest here. Trump's Tariff Mirage, a meditation on economic foolishness. The siren song of tariffs, that glittering political bauble dangled before the masses, noble dreamers of tax-free utopias, by the showman Trump. Like a snake oil salesman promising to cure both hepatitis and melancholy with the same bottle of colored water. The notion of swapping income taxes for tariffs seduces with its simplicity, only to reveal itself as a cosmic jest, a fiscal fractured fairy tale. Behold the mirage of tariffist savior, shimmering with populist allure, yet crumbling under the lightest scrutiny of reason. One might suppose, in the spirit of charitable interpretation, that this proposal springs from some deep well of economic wisdom, perhaps discovered in the same mystical realm where politicians find their other brilliant ideas, somewhere between a fever dream and a lobbyist's lunch. But no, this is merely the latest incarnation of that ancient political art, promising the impossible while pickpocketing the credulous. This proposal, trumpeted as a balm for the tax-weary, is less a policy than a parlor trick. Replace the income tax with tariffs? The mathematics alone would make Pythagoras weep into his toga. It's as mathematically sound as balancing a checkbook with a Ouija board. The idea that tariffs could replace the income tax is rather like suggesting we power the entire electrical grid with a single hamster wheel. Ambitious in scope, touching in its optimism, and utterly divorced from the stubborn realities of arithmetic. The revenue gap yawns before us like the Grand Canyon, though considerably less scenic and far more economically perilous. A chasm so vast, it could swallow the national debt and still have room for a congressman's ego. The U.S. Treasury, who leans on the steady drip of income taxes, would find tariffs a fickle mistress, drying up when imports falter, leaving the government to beg like a street corner busker in a recession. In chasing the illusion of fiscal ease, we stumble into the void of our own making. The true artistry lies in the distributional effects, whereby the burden of taxation performs a magnificent pirouette, leaping gracefully from the shoulders of those who can afford it onto the backs of those who cannot. And who bears the brunt of this grand sleight of hand? The working stiff, the middle-class striver, that noble soul already juggling bills like a drunken circus clown. Tariffs, those stealthy pickpockets, are regressive by nature, hiking the cost of everything from sneakers to spinach. The grocer's bill swells, the gas pump mocks, and the family budget groans under the weight of this so-called tax relief. The only thing flatter than a tariff's logic is the wallet of the man who pays it. Meanwhile, the promised fiscal salvation evaporates as public services, roads, schools, hospitals face the axe, leaving the nation's backbone creaking like an old rusted porch swing. A masterpiece of regressive policy design, transforming every trip to the grocery store into a subtle form of taxation without representation. Yes, the working families of America, those stalwart souls who labor under the illusion that their government might occasionally consider their welfare, would find themselves in the peculiar position of paying more for everything while earning no more for anything. It is rather like being invited to a dinner party where you're expected to bring all the food, cook it yourself, and wash the dishes, while the host takes credit for the hospitality. Nor does the chaos end at our shores. Wave a tariff wand over global markets and watch trading partners retaliate with the glee of a scorned lover. The world's bazaar, once a merry exchange of goods, becomes a battlefield of economic reprisals. Supply chains snarl, prices soar, and American exporters, farmers, factory hands, tech wizards find their wares shunned abroad. The economy is a river, not a dam. Block its flow, and the waters turn stagnant. The modern world, knitted together by intricate trade, laughs at the blunt cudgel of tariffs, which threaten to unravel the very fabric of prosperity. The ripple effects would cascade through the economy with all the grace of a drunken rhinoceros in a crystal shop. Trade wars would bloom like dandelions in spring, International relationships would sour like milk left in the sun, and the delicate web of global commerce would snap with the satisfying crack of a wishbone, though considerably less fun, and with no prizes for the winner. In its heart, this tariff scheme is a populist fairy tale, spun to charm the disgruntled, but doomed to betray them. It promises a stronger nation, but delivers a weaker one, with emptier pocketbooks and a global stage where America plays the fool. The profound irony, of course, is that this scheme arrives wearing the costume of simplification while delivering the substance of chaos. It promises to make life easier while making it demonstrably harder, to strengthen America while weakening it, to fill pockets while emptying them. It is the economic equivalent of a perpetual motion machine, theoretically appealing, practically impossible, and invariably promoted by people who have clearly never encountered the laws of thermodynamics. In the end, we are left contemplating the eternal dance between political ambition and economic reality, a waltz as old as democracy itself, though considerably less graceful. The proposal stands before us like a beautiful mirage in the desert. The closer we approach, the more obvious it becomes that we are chasing nothing more substantial than heated air and wishful thinking. Trump's constituents, ever eager for a shortcut, mistake a cliff for a highway. The Tao of economics flows not through force, but through balance. Tariffs are but a stumble in the dance. Let us then sidestep this mirage and seek policies that don't mock arithmetic or mock the poor, lest we trade our future for a fleeting applause. Flow, fairness, and fiscal freedom, the FTT fix. Instead of slapping tariffs on toothbrushes and tricycles in a misguided attempt to finance the federal government like it's running a lemonade stand in 1791, the Trump administration, or any administration with a functioning frontal cortex, might consider something far more elegant: a dainty little financial transactions tax, or FTT. Imagine a tiny tithe on every financial transaction, a whisper of a tax that says, "Hey, you're making money off money, give us a tiny slice." Yes, a tax so modest it wouldn't scare a squirrel, but so powerful it could rearrange the furniture of our entire economic house. It could correct a number of maladies in our economic system, from the federal debt crisis to the widening wealth divide to the rampant financialization of the economy, while eliminating taxes on income, property, and sales. While tariffs are the fiscal equivalent of clubbing your own foot to spite a foreign shoemaker, the FTT operates with the subtlety of a Zen koan. It doesn't roar, it hums. Instead of income taxes, those medieval instruments of bureaucratic torture requiring small armies of accountants, attorneys, auditors, and therapists, we'd have a tax that simply skims a drop off the top each time money changes hands. Just a simple, invisible tax that says, you move money, you pay a tiny fee. This FTT would be the ultimate party crasher, showing up uninvited to every stock trade, bond sale, and derivative deal, and saying, you know what? I'll just take a teensy bit of that action. And the beauty of it? It's automatic, like a digital toll booth on the information superhighway. The tax is deducted invisibly at the source, like a pickpocket in a pinstripe suit, except in this case, the loot pays for roads, hospitals, and possibly a civilized society. The FTT would be implemented directly through the banking system. Each time money moves, the tax would be automatically withheld at the point of transaction. Much like a sales tax is added at the register, but invisibly embedded within the system itself. There would be no filing, no deductions, no exemptions, and no loopholes to exploit. The administrative burden would be dramatically reduced, and with it, the opportunities for tax evasion and avoidance that plague the current system. Unlike its cranky cousin, the sales tax, which clubs you every time you try to buy a sandwich, the FTT focuses on the ephemeral world of intangible wealth: stocks, bonds, derivatives, and all the other monopoly money that dances across trading screens faster than your pension can say margin call. The benefits? Oh, just your run-of-the-mill economic miracles. Federal debt crisis averted, wealth divide narrowing, and financialization of the economy getting a stern talking to. And let's not forget the pièce de résistance, eliminating taxes on income, property, and sales. It's like a fiscal reset button. John Maynard Keynes, who somehow managed to be both an economist and interesting, once suggested such a tax to tame the beast of speculation. Keynes would be thrilled. He'd say, "Ah, finally, a tax on Wall Street's excessive speculation and market volatility. Let's throw some sand in the gears of this casino economy." In today's context, FTT, that mild-mannered regulatory tool, has grown into a full-blown fiscal philosophy, a tax so fair, simple, and frictionless it might just be mistaken for common sense, which of course guarantees it will be fought tooth and claw by every lobbyist from K Street to Kingdom Come. At the forefront of this broader application are the proposals articulated by the Foundation for a Better Economy and visionary Scott Andrew Smith's A Tale of Two Economies, a new financial operating system for the American economy. Scott Andrew Smith dares to dream what no Treasury Secretary has dared to say aloud at cocktail parties. What if we scrapped the entire steaming pile of income, property, and sales taxes and replaced it with a single, barely perceptible flow tax? A 0.25% or 0.3% levy on all money movement, from billion-dollar trades to utility payments. This is not taxation with representation. It's taxation with automation. Under their financial freedom plan, the proceeds would bankroll universal basic income, free college, free healthcare, and even make your mortgage payment shrink like a cotton shirt in hot water. It could eliminate the national debt. Ambitious? Absolutely. Proponents argue, and not without wit, that unlike the income tax, which goes spelunking through your W-2s and retirement accounts, the FTT taps into the entire flow of money in the economy, compared to the more constrained income base. It's like taxing the river instead of wading downstream to snag a fish or two. This fundamental difference theoretically enables the imposition of significantly lower rates, while generating substantially higher aggregate revenue. In other words, with such a wide base, the rate can be laughably low and still fill the coffers like a Vegas slot machine on cheat mode. In sum, the FTT offers the tantalizing prospect of replacing our Baroque broken tax code with a system so straightforward it might actually work, which in Washington is perhaps the most radical idea of all.